In this Star Wars Battlefront news update video, I will be covering how the Classic Collection has been accused of using a stolen mod, plus a few settings for accessibility and more. But before we do get into today's news though, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future Classic Battlefront videos. Firstly, PlayStation players have been asking when they will be able to preload the game, as Xbox players can already download it. If you pre-order the game on the PS5 or PS4, you are able to download it on Monday the 11th or Tuesday the 12th. It does depend on your time zone. As you can see here with this example from Jay, a subscriber of mine in the UK, it shows the 12th of March. This will give you a few days to download what is set to be another big download size. Speaking of which, the Nintendo eShop website in some cases has the download size of the Classic Collection at nearly 40 gigabytes. This is up from 25. In the eShop on the actual console it does say 25 gigabytes still, so it might just be a mistake on the web version. I also saw that it does confirm touchscreen support, which is interesting and cool to see. This will be likely just for the menus and such. Next up, let's talk about a few accessibility settings I've seen requests for in my comments. These include improved button remapping and more, so I tried to see if I could find confirmation on this. The Xbox Store page does include a few different accessibility settings. Button remapping will be in the game, but it is unknown if it has been approved upon compared to the original games. Colour options for those with colour blindness, so that's really great, and other things you'd expect such as volume controls and sensitivity. I'm very happy there is some accessibility settings for those that do need it within this Classic Collection, as it just makes this collection a more accessible way to play the original games, which is always a good thing. These settings should be on all platforms for this collection, not just Xbox. It's just that Xbox have confirmed it in their store listing, but I'd imagine it will be on the other platforms, so fingers crossed that is the case. Let's now talk about mod support. This is something that many people have been talking about within the community. I've seen a lot of people comment on my previous videos and across social media asking if there will be mod support and just hoping there will be it through Steam Workshop or something else. For those that have not used mods on the PC version of the original games before, there is actually a long-standing dedicated modding community. Modding and that community has helped those games last long on the PC, and mods could do the same for the Classic Collection. Sure, most people will be playing on console, but where the original games have thrived over the last 15 years or so, have been on PC, and it's been largely down to mods. New content has been created, fixes have been made, overall improvements to the games that we all love. Now, because modding has been such a huge part of the original games, it's led people trying to find out if there is actually going to be mod support for this Classic Collection. Some users have spotted that inside of the end-user license agreement for the game on Steam, there is a section for mods. It talks about how Aspyr can remove any mods they deem a violation or inappropriate, and they will use the mod.io platform. This got people's hopes up when they saw it. Unfortunately though, the entire document is used in other titles from Aspyr. The last two games from Aspyr that they've released use the same end-user license agreement, word for word. It includes the segment about mods. Weirdly, neither of those games have mod.io support, so it is strange that they've included it in games that don't have it. The EULA was updated back in October last year, ahead of the release of Heads Up Phones Down, which is from Aspyr, but again that does not have mods via mod.io. Same goes for the Tomb Raider Trilogy remaster, which recently just released. You'd have thought if Battlefront had mod support, they would have come out and said so in the press release when they announced this. Hopefully they just thought it wasn't a big deal to include in that, but I think most PC players would like to know ahead of release if mod support is included. Now, one person did tweet me an image showing the Classic Collection down for Steam Workshop support when they opened Steam. However, I can't find anyone else who has had the same pop-up, and there's nothing to indicate it in the Steam backend at this time. It could purely be a glitch, or it's telling us something early, that there will be workshop support, but I'm a bit doubtful. I feel like they probably would have mentioned it in the press release there again. But that's all we have pointing towards mod support at this moment in time, and there isn't much else to go off. Speaking of mods, another big topic in the comments of my videos has been how the collection may be using a stolen mod. Well, Aspyr have just responded to this accusation. The mod in question involves Asajj Ventress, one of the DLC heroes coming to all platforms with this classic collection. There are some differences between the actual DLC found on Xbox and a mod that ported over this character for the PC version, and the modder can tell that, at least in some clips in the trailer, their mod of Ventress was used. As requested by various viewers of mine, along with others, we've looked into this, and we think that this footage is just early footage that didn't have the actual DLC in, and they did actually use the mod. After IGN covered the news about the mod being spotted in the trailer, Aspyr responded to them with this statement. "We'd like to thank the passionate Star Wars Battlefront community for bringing this to our attention. When capturing placeholder footage for our announcement last fall, we mistakenly included content that is not in the product, and that mistake made it into the final cut. The upcoming release of Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection does not include any code or content that is taken from uncredited sources." Another issue people had was the fact that the modder didn't know this had happened, and this could have been an uncredited mod making its way into the final game, but this clears it all up. There are no uncredited mods used in this release, despite what a lot of people were saying. As I said just a moment ago, a bunch of us did think it was simply old footage left over. That still doesn't excuse the fact that someone didn't pick this up, but still, I am glad this is the next best case possible. Honestly, the more interesting part of their statement is that they filmed this part of the trailer about 6 months ago. We know that some game trailers can take several months to do, but I am surprised that the old footage was not caught in the last 6 months or so. Lastly, here's a really interesting indication as to how long this classic collection has been in development, and on top of that, what Star Wars game Aspyr may be porting next. I have seen talk about how this classic collection may have only started development a couple of months ago, but that doesn't appear to be the case, and here's why. I looked at the Steam backend using SteamDB, and they started submitting stuff for this classic collection to Steam's backend in May last year. That's 9 months ago. And we heard from Aspyr earlier on in the video that they were filming placeholder footage for the trailer last autumn. I then came across this tweet from a fellow Star Wars games channel, 100% Star Wars. He covers all stuff to do with the KOTOR games, and he actually said back in 2022 that he had heard the original Battlefront and Bounty Hunter game were the next Star Wars games to be ported by Aspyr. 100% Star Wars had sources on the KOTOR remake when it was at Aspyr back in the day, so even all the way back in 2022, it does seem like they were looking to bring this game to more platforms. But of course, that was only just Battlefront 2. We're getting the Classic Collection, which features the original game. And I am glad that they've decided to take more time to bring these two games together into a complete package. In my opinion, the first Battlefront game has some incredible maps, and I really do like it for that. Putting them both together was just the right move, plus it's the 20th anniversary of the first game this year. They actually mentioned that in the original announcement, so that's pretty good, I think. It is interesting to know that it could have been in the works as early as 2022. It seems like Bounty Hunter may be next on the menu, which from what I've seen in my comments and on social media, that is one people really do want to happen, so fingers crossed. I think much like the Classic Collection, it will do very well because it's actually on less platforms than these Battlefront games. It's far less accessible. Sure, there is a PS4 port by Aspyr right now, but that released 9 years ago, so getting that game on the Switch, Xbox, and on PC, getting some good treatment from it, that would be great. So fingers crossed it does happen. But I would also love to see Star Wars Battlefront, Renegade, and Elite Squadron, the DS and PSP games, come to other platforms as well, but I'm not so entirely hopeful on that. I know many people would love to see it as well, so fingers crossed Aspyr do it. I would love to hear your thoughts on anything I've shared with you in this video, so please do let me know down in the comment section below. And remember to drop a like to help support the channel, subscribe so you don't miss any future Battlefront videos from me. If you missed any of my previous videos, click on the playlist on screen right now, and I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.